I'm a big fan of mysteries, and my three favorite mystery writers all have to be Canadian. In no particular order, Kathy Ace, Peggy Blair, and Debra Purdy Kong. So I'm friends with only one of them. I'm really happy she's here today. She is the author and wrong person. The author of the KC Holland Transit Security Mystery set in Metro Vancouver. She's also been a member of or one of the teachers at the Port Moody Writers Group, and it's always her advice I listen to first. So she gets to hear me read often. So tonight, it's a great pleasure to hear her read tonight, Debra Purdy Kong.
Thank you, Eric. I know Peggy and Kathy, they're lovely people. So one day I'll introduce you if I get a chance to see them again. So, and thank you for inviting me to my very first Writers in Our Midst. It's a pleasure to be here. I have been a mystery writer for most of my adult life, and I have been a mystery reader since I was about 10 years old and got hold of my first Nancy Drew. So it's probably not a stretch when I tell you that I also have a degree in criminology from Douglas College. I seem to have gravitated towards crime and mystery from a very early age. During those years when I was studying, I also volunteered at Wellington Youth Detention Center, what was then Ocala Prison, men's unit. I rode around a couple of nights with the Richmond RCMP, and I had a summer job working at what was then known as Richmond Unified Family Court. And all of that experience made me realize that I did not want a career in either law enforcement or corrections. I chose to write about crime and criminal behavior because it was a lot more fun. I was a stay-at-home mom for 14 years, and when I decided to go back to work, one of the jobs I took was working in security. And my employer paid for my training with the Justice Institute of British Columbia, and I worked in campus security. That training that I had is the exact same training that the character protagonist in my Casey Holland mystery series does for a living. Casey is a transit security officer, and she rides the buses undercover, dealing with smaller types of crime, but they either evolve into or merge with other issues that are happening in the city. I created a fictional bus company for this series. I did not want to use TransLink. I created a smaller, privately owned, non-unionized company which fills the gaps where TransLink doesn't go. And they do things differently and probably not in the best possible way, but it does make life interesting. I have published 5 books in this series so far, and what I'm going to read for you tonight is this very small excerpt from the 5th book, which is the most recently published, called Knock Knock. Number 6, The Blade Man, is coming out in February, so I'm very excited about that. In this particular book, this is a story about home invasions that are targeting seniors in the Carrisdale area of Vancouver. Casey, with the arrangement of her supervisor and her colleagues, are riding the buses in that area, and they're watching over the seniors. This gang of home invasion people are targeting this group, and they suspect that they are following them on and off buses and at other public places that seniors might go to and congregate. She's befriended some of them, and her supervisor has even given her permission to assist seniors not only off the bus, but to their homes if they live within a fairly close radius, if they're feeling particularly frightened or threatened. And she does that one day for a very elderly, frail man, and what happens is that they get into his first floor condo, and they're both attacked. So she's spending a lot of this particular book trying to recuperate from her injuries and come to terms with the fact that she's been victimized by this assailant. The subplot in this book is her upcoming wedding. She is going to marry the love of her life, which is a bus driver named Lou. But both she and Lou have been working so much overtime that they haven't had a chance to prepare for their wedding very well. So her future mother-in-law, Barb, has stepped in and is arranging the wedding, and it's not going all that well. So I'm going to read a lighter part of this novel. As you can imagine, this is a pretty intense story, but I wanted to incorporate some lighter moments in the book just to give readers a breather. It's the kind of mystery novel that I like to read as well. So in this very, very short section, Casey's trying on wedding dresses with her future mother-in-law, Barb, and a couple of aunts. And also, Casey is legal guardian to a 13-year-old girl named Summer. So these names are going to come up in this section. You're also going to hear the name Denver. He is her Vancouver police officer friend that she's also taken some criminology classes with. And there's mention of a man named Philippe who is a work colleague, also in security, but he's also a rival, and his motivations are a little bit suspect. So I'll just start with this short section. This is chapter 20, well into the book when she's healing, mostly. Casey grimaced at her image in the dressing room's mirror. All these layers of white tulle beneath the chiffon made her look like the top half of a lemon meringue pie, but without the tasty golden brown tips. Casey still hadn't decided if she even wanted a white wedding dress, but Barb had insisted that she try this silly frou-frou thing on. Though the dress was all wrong, Casey had to admit that shopping was a welcome change of scene from yesterday's depressing hospital visit. A heavily sedated Hilda hadn't recognized her or Daisy. As hard as Daisy tried to hide her emotions, she was clearly upset. Her greatest fear, she confided to Casey, was that Hilda's dementia would escalate. "How do you like the dress?" Barb asked on the other side of the curtain. I don't think it's me." Barb poked her head inside. "It's lovely. Come and show everyone. Do you want me to zip you up?" "No, thanks." The dress wouldn't be on long enough to bother. Feeling like a total moron, Casey stepped out of the room and stood before Summer and Lou's aunts and a sales clerk who couldn't quite manage a genuine smile. Given Summer's smirk and the aunts' pensive faces, they didn't like the dress either. Mercifully, her best friend Kendall had to work today. Otherwise, Kendall would have snapped a photo of her in this hideous mess and posted it on Facebook with a smart-ass caption. "What do you think?" Barb asked the group. "She looks like a giant spool of white cotton candy," one aunt remarked. Summer laughed. "That dress could swallow Lou whole," the other added. "Sore ribs don't like snug bodices," Casey said, tugging on the fabric. "Maybe I should try something a little looser and simpler." "Gotcha. We'll keep looking." Barb swooshed Casey back into the curtained room. "How about you, Summer?" Casey called out. "See anything you like?" "I found a pink gown for her with a bow in the back," Barb answered. "She says pink's not her color, but I think she and Kendall would look adorable." Kendall would kill anyone who tried to make her look adorable. Casey slowly worked the sleeve off her healing shoulder. Although it had become much easier to dress herself, she still had nasty twinges of pain if she moved too quickly. Her phone rang. She looked at the screen. Denver. Casey let the dress fall to the floor. "Hi, Denver. How's it going?" "Not good. I wanted to give you a heads up." He paused. Aaron Brightman's body was found in a dumpster on the downtown east side. "Holy crap. I heard something about an unidentified body on the news yesterday, but never dreamed it would be her." Casey stepped out of the mountain of chiffon. "How was she killed?" "Preliminary reports suggest a heroin overdose." "A junkie?" "She didn't strike me as the type." Nor did Aaron live or work in that area. Do you think she was there to buy drugs? She didn't die in the alley. Her body was moved from an unknown location. Listen, can we discuss this in person ASAP? Why? Denver didn't investigate homicides. Sure. Where do you want to meet? Your supervisor's office. Why there? Had they identified the leak to the gang? Was it really Philippe? And was he somehow connected to Aaron's death? I'll be there in a half hour. Casey put her clothes on as quickly as she could manage. Glancing at Barb's other puffy dress choices hanging in front of her, leaving was a lucky break. She needed to find a dress on her own, something that would feel right the moment she put it on. Casey stepped out of the dressing room to find everyone, including the sales clerk, gaping at her with a mix of curiosity, trepidation, and shock. Damn, they'd heard everything she'd said. I'm sorry. I guess you know I have to go. Barb flashed a weak smile. We'll keep shopping, then take Summer to lunch and drop her off at your place later. Casey turned to Summer. Is that okay with you? Sure, Summer said, shrugging. Be careful driving, though. I will. The heavy traffic unraveled Casey's patience. By the time she stepped out of the car at MPT, she was sweating and irritable, and yet another headache was starting. The patrol car parked near the admin building's entrance told her that Denver's presence was more official than friendly. I'll leave it there. Thank you.